Hi there students. For this lecture we are going to talk about formatting in Microsoft Excel. Similarly to Microsoft Word, if you want to format certain elements in Excel, you are going to have to highlight the data that you want to format first. So let's first highlight a segment that we want to format differently. On your Home tab, you find all your formatting tools. Okay, so the first thing you do when you want to format something is you highlight it by dragging your mouse pointer over whatever it is that you want to format. To change the font, you go up here where it says Calibri, click on the drop down arrow, and choose a font that is suitable. So that's basically how you change your font. How you change the font size, you go up to where it is saying 12, and you can change the font size to whatever it is you want. Your bold, italics, and underline buttons work the same way in all your programs. To change something to italics, you're going to click on the I. To underline something, you're going to click on the U. And if you want to disable these, you just click on the U again and the I again. If you click on the B again, you notice your font isn't bold anymore. But we're going to keep it bold, so I'm going to click on it one more time. So that's basically how your formatting features work. Other things that you can do is you can shade in your headings. So if I click over here and I drag across, maybe I want to shade the background a different color. To do that, I'm going to go up here to the full color button and I choose a color that I want. So I can click on any of these colors. It's going to change the background of my cells. This button over here is the font color. So keeping that highlighted, I click on this font color button or this drop down arrow next to it, and I can then change the color of my font. Okay. The next thing I could actually do is, of course, adjust my rows and columns. To adjust rows and columns, you can do it manually. So for example, if I want to adjust my columns to make them bigger or smaller, let's say we want to make surname visible. You go to this line between A and B. When it becomes an arrow pointing in two directions, you drag it. And you do the same for all so that you can see the different headings. You can do the same for your row height as well by going to the lines between your rows and dragging them to make them either bigger or smaller. Another way you can do this with your various different columns is if you highlight certain aspects, you can click on the Format button up here, and you've got column width. So you can set your column or row width here, or you can click on Auto Fit Column Width. So it auto fits everything to fit nicely in your columns so that you can see all your headings. Now, if I wanted to align the heading to the center, so my heading is sitting over here, but I want it to be one cell. So I want to merge all these cells into one. If I look at the way it is now, I've got A1, B1, C1, D1, right up until G1. If I want to make it one, all I have to do is highlight across from A1 to G1 and click on this Merge and Center button. Once I do that, all of these cells have now become one and it's centered my heading. Now I can just click on this, change it to bold, make the font bigger so it looks like a heading. Now if I want to change my borders, or I want to put a border around my information, to do that, I would highlight my set of information. I'll go to this button on the top over here. If I click on this drop-down arrow, I can choose a style of border. Okay, so thick border is going to put a line just around my data. But I don't want that. I want lines running across as well. So I'd highlight my set of data again, click on this drop-down arrow, and click on all borders. So that's simple enough. If I wanted only numbers that were below 60 to show, or to show in a different color, for this I would do or use something called conditional formatting. To use conditional formatting, you're going to highlight the section you want to format. You go to the top over here on the Home tab where it says Conditional Formatting, and you go to Highlight Cell Rules. And it gives you a variety of different rules. Okay, so we wanted numbers that were below 60. So you can click on less than. So format cells that are less than, and you can click on 60, and you can choose how to format it. So let's make all the cells lower than 60 to be a green fill with dark green text. When we click on OK, we'll notice that everything under 60 is formatted differently. This is known as conditional formatting. Okay, so just bear that in mind. That is conditional formatting, and it is found on the Home tab under Conditional Formatting. Okay, so that's how you would basically format most of your Excel workbooks. A lot of the other buttons are going to be the same. In other words, if I click over here and I click on my alignment buttons, they're going to do the same thing as they did in Word. So align left is going to align my text to the left. Center would center it. Right align is going to right align it. If I wanted to format my numbers, okay, I'd highlight my numbers. I could right click and I could go to Format Cells. When I go to Format Cells and I click on Number, I can choose how many decimal spaces I want over here. So if I want to cancel out the decimal spaces, I go here and I make it 0. And when I click on OK, I'll notice that my decimal spaces are now gone. Also under where it says number over here, I got these two buttons here, increase decimal and decrease decimal. If I click on increase decimal, it increases the decimal spaces. If I click on decrease decimal, it decreases the decimal spaces. So there's two ways I can actually find it. If I want to convert something to currency, I'll click on the button that looks like the $sign. Sometimes it looks like money. I would go to More Accounting Formats because we want to find South Africa. So we want to look for South Africa so that it can sort of format it into rands. Okay, we don't really want dollars or pounds. There are so many accounting formats, so sometimes this could take a while to actually find it, but you should see R English South Africa and you would click on it. You can decrease the decimal spaces, click on OK, and it now reads as a currency. It's important to do this because if you just type R before any number that you place in, Excel actually doesn't read it as a currency, it reads it as text. Therefore, it won't use any of these in terms of calculations, and you'll keep getting errors if you try to do calculations on these cells. However, over here, you can very easily do a calculation, and it would include all this data and give you the correct answer. So just bear that in mind. You need to actually go to accounting formats to actually change something to currency. So those were your basic in terms of, or your basics in terms of formatting. I will go through a few other things in terms of formatting as well. One of the most important is Excel, as you can see, is made up of columns and rows. So if I want to delete a column, it's quite simple. I click on the column, right click on it, and click on delete. It would automatically delete my column, and the column would move one column to the left. If I want to delete a row, I click on the row, right click, and I click on delete, and it moves all my data one level higher. Okay? I can also delete individual cells by doing the same thing. By right clicking, going delete, and there I get a variety of options. The first one is shift cells left. So it's going to delete the cell and shift all my data one to the left. If I clicked on shift cells up, it's going to delete the cell and move everything one level higher. So let's click on shift cells left. Okay, see what happened? Everything moved one level to the left. Okay, if I right click, delete, and shift cells up, it's going to move everything one level up. Of course, I can right click on a cell, delete, and I can delete either entire row or entire column. But the easiest way to delete an entire row or an entire column is just to right click on the row or the column. The other option you have is to hide. So if I click on hide, it's going to hide the column. You know it's a hidden column because it skips an alphabet. So you got B and D. To bring it back, you click on B, hold down your control button, click on D, right click, and you will now see something that says unhide. That's how you would unhide your columns. So let me just do that one more time. Press the wrong one, sorry. Unhide. There we are. Same with the rows. You click on any of the rows, you go hide, and it's hidden row 5. To bring it back, you highlight 4 and 6, right click, and unhide. So that's basically how you would hide and unhide your columns and your rows. Another thing that you can do is you can copy your sheet. So let's say we want to copy this sheet over here. An easy way to make a copy of a sheet is to hold down your control button, click on your sheet. You'll notice that you've got a page with the plus sign. When you see that, you're going to drag it and drop it, and you'll notice you now got 2 sheets called functions. To rename this one, we just double click on it and we can call it whatever we want. So I'm just calling it function extra. If I want to change the tab color of my sheet, I right click, tab color, and I can give my sheets different tab colors if I want. So I'll notice that when I click on each of them, I see what their colors would be. If I now wanted to sort my data or filter it, well, first we'll do a sort. We want to sort all this data according to surname. You highlight your section of data, you go to the top right corner where it says sort and filter, and you go to custom sort. You click on where it says sort by, and we're going to click on surname based on values, and we want it in ascending order, so we will go with A to Z and click on OK. And now we have everything in terms of surname order. To filter data, I highlight the set of data I want to filter, click on sort and filter, and click on filter. Now I can filter by name, so maybe I only want to see the records of 2 students. And I've got my filter. I click on the drop down arrow again, click on select all, and now I've got all my information looking at me again. If I want to take out the filter, I go back to sort and filter and click on filter again. And all my information is looking pretty much the same again. And that's basically formatting. So I will talk more about charts maybe a bit later in another video, but I really hope that this helps you in preparation for your tests and exams.